This is Dr. Rajaratna Tangavir. I am ophthalmology faculty at various institutes and in online platform Marrow as well. So today we are going to discuss about the embryology of the eye, how the eye develops or how the eyeball develops. So what are the various layers, the embryological layers that go into the formation of the eyeball, alright. So we have the surface ectoderm, the neuroectoderm, the mesoderm and the neural crest cells which contribute to the formation of the eyeball. Now one thing that is to be noted is the endoderm does not have any role in the formation of the eye or the eye structures, alright. So now I'm going to just demonstrate to you certain things. So we're going to use this as the surface ectoderm. So now there is surface ectoderm, alright. Now we are talking about week 3, alright. So we are starting with the 3rd week of gestation. So there is surface ectoderm. So what happens in the surface ectoderm? It is going to give rise to the lens, alright, the crystalline lens inside the eyeball. Now on the surface ectoderm there is going to be a little bit of thickening of the lens, which we call as lens placode, okay. So there is going to be a certain thickening of the surface ectoderm overlying the area where the eyeball is going to develop. So we are going to have lens placode. So this is week 4, alright. Now week 3 is the area which is going to develop into the lens gets identified. Week 4 you have lens placode, which is like a disc, okay, a thickening, and then there is a pit that develops, okay. So then there is a pit that develops by week 5. Then what happens? This thickening and the pit, they detach from the surface ectoderm. Now how do they detach? Now this is the surface, and from that the placode, and which evolved into a pit, now becomes something like a ball, okay, like a vesicle, and it detaches from the surface ectoderm. So what do I have now? I have something called a lens vesicle, alright. So we have surface ectoderm, lens placode, lens pit and formation of lens vesicle, what we call as the primary lens vesicle, which is actually a layer of cells with a cavity inside, alright. So whatever cells which form this lens vesicle are called as the primary lens fibers, okay. So that is about the surface ectoderm and the lens vesicle formation. Now you know that it has detached from the surface ectoderm. Now in the meanwhile, what is happening with regard to the neuroectoderm? Now for this you should understand the eyeball, alright. Now I always tell you, okay, so this is your eyeball, okay, so this is cornea and this is the entire eyeball, and you know behind the eyeball you have the optic nerve, right? So now let's take this as the eyeball now. So you have the front part, the portion behind, and you have an optic nerve behind, okay. Now let's say we're going to cut the eyeball. I'm talking about the formed eyeball right now, okay, before I explain neuroectoderm. So what you see, so when I cut the eyeball, okay, I slice the eyeball, and what you see is going to be the inner retina, okay. So you will see the inner retina, and this is part of the vitreous, okay, the gel. Can you imagine what I'm saying? So you have the retina, you will be able to see, and retina is the nervous layer of the eyeball, and it goes out as the optic nerve, alright. So you got this idea. Now this retina and the optic nerve come from neuroectoderm. Now how does this happen? Now let's imagine this, okay. So let's say this is the optic stalk. Now what is the optic stalk? Now from your prosencephalon diencephalon region, that junction area, there is something called an optic vesicle that develops, okay. So that optic vesicle keeps growing laterally, okay, it keeps growing laterally in the form of a stalk, right. So it grows laterally. So now when it comes laterally and also forward, now this is your optic stalk, okay, an optic stalk with the optic vesicle in front of it, alright. So the optic stalk with the optic vesicle in front of it. Do you understand? Now So both of them are neuroectoderm, because you know that the brain is nothing but the neuroectoderm. Okay, it's a derivative of neuroectoderm. So this is optic stalk and this is your optic vesicle, not the lens vesicle but the optic vesicle. Okay, now in this optic stalk, what's happening? On day 22, what happens is there is what is called as formation of an embryonic fissure. Okay, so if this is my optic stalk, on the inferonasal aspect of it, so imagine this is my right optic stalk, on the inferonasal aspect you have what is called as a embryonic fissure or a choroidal fissure. Can you see this? Okay, so there's something like this which happens, which develops, so that the vessels, okay, so the vessels can go into the substance of the eventual optic nerve, because the optic stalk is going to develop into the optic nerve. So this embryonic fissure develops at day 22 and it will close, okay, and it will close on day 35. Is that clear? So this is embryonic fissure. Now, so when does it develop? Day 22, and it closes at day 35 or at the end of week 5, right? So 7 5s are 35. So at the end of week 5, this embryonic fissure will close. Do you have an idea now? Now suppose this embryonic fissure fails to close. All the neuroectodermal derivatives that are going to develop in this particular area will be missing. So what is that name called? It's called coloboma. Coloboma is a congenital deficiency of tissues. So imagine I have a deficit here and this deficit does not ever get closed. So all the structures that are going to develop from this neuroectoderm will obviously manifest that deficit, what we call in medical terms as coloboma. Alright, okay. So now we'll just move back. So now you know this optic stalk and you have an optic vesicle. Alright, so these are neuroectodermal derivatives, and in the meantime what happened? Your surface ectoderm, from there the lens vesicle detached and it is moving inward, right? So now you have to imagine it like a story. Okay, so now this has separated from its parent surface ectoderm and literally it has eloped. Okay, so this is that eloped one and it is coming towards its, you know, its interest, okay, object of interest. It's coming here. Now what is going to happen is it's going to induce, okay, there's going to be some induction between this and this, because this entices this to detach. Now it is the turn of this lens vesicle to say, hey, can you change yourself for me, because that's how it happens. Okay, so now what's going to happen is the vesicle, okay, this optic ball is going to get compressed by this. Okay, so there are changes, and now what happens? The vesicle becomes like a cup. Do you see it? Do you see a cup now? Okay, so now there's a cup and your lens comes and sits here, right, and it gets flattened. Okay, initially it's like a vesicle, later it becomes flattened, so you get a biconvex lens structure. Is that clear? So now what are the neuroectodermal derivatives? So obviously my optic stalk, which is going to become optic nerve. So optic nerve is a derivative of neuroectoderm and retina. Okay, and after the retina you have epithelium. Okay, epithelium of the ciliary body. Okay, because you know you have pars plana, which is the peripheral termination of the retina, and just in front of that you have ciliary body. Pars plana is a part of ciliary body. So you have epithelium of the ciliary body, and then we have iris. So the epithelium of the iris also develops from neuroectoderm. And you know the muscles of the iris. What are the muscles of the iris? The sphincter pupillae and the dilator pupillae. Both of them again develop from the neuroectoderm. Okay, so far you know optic nerve, then you know there is retina, then you have epithelium of the ciliary body, then you have iris epithelium, the two iris muscles, that is sphincter pupillae and dilator pupillae. Now what else is remaining? Now you remember you have the lens here and we have the ciliary body epithelium, but the lens is just straddling there. So don't we need connections? Yes. So we have the suspensory ligament of Zinn or the zonules. So the zonules are also derived from neuroectoderm. And remember, this is actually a empty space. yes, this vitreous is still not formed. So you had only that cup and you had the lens here. So that vitreous or the secondary vitreous, the vitreous gel also gets formed from the neuroectoderm. Is that clear? So it's very, very simple. So neuroectoderm, just follow it like a story. You have optic nerve, you have retina, then you have the epithelium of the ciliary body, the epithelium of the iris, the two muscles of the iris, that is the sphincter pupillae and the dilator pupillae, then the zonules which are suspending the lens, and the vitreous gel. So these are the only structures that develop from the neuroectoderm. Okay. Now coming to the surface ectoderm, it's very, very, very simple. Okay. One, you already know the lens. Okay. So lens develops from the surface ectoderm. Now there are 3 L's. And it's very, very easy, or what I say, it's too easy. Okay, so the derivatives from the surface ectoderm are, there are 3 L's involved and it's too easy. That means there are 2 ECs there. Okay, so what are the 3 L's? Number 1, your lens, the lacrimal apparatus, meaning the lacrimal gland and the excretory system or the drainage system. Alright, and number 3, the lids. Yes, the lid skin and the glands present in the lid. So there are 3 L's: lens, lacrimal gland, and the glands of the lids, the lid skin and the glands associated with the lids. And what are the 2 ECs? EC, epithelium of a C structure. Epithelium of which C structure? Epithelium of, there are 2 C's, no, on the surface. So when you see, there is cornea and there is conjunctiva. If you consider this as a limbus, within the limbal area there is only cornea. So you have corneal epithelium and beyond that you have conjunctiva. So conjunctival epithelium. Alright. So what are the 2 ECs? One is epithelium of cornea and the other is epithelium of conjunctiva. Alright. So there are just 5 structures coming from the surface ectoderm. So these are the ectodermal derivatives of the eyeball. So that was the surface ectodermal derivatives and the neuroectodermal derivatives. Alright. So now imagine if when I have this failure of fusion of this embryonic fissure, I am going to get a coloboma. Right. Now what is a typical coloboma? Typical coloboma is basically based on the location. Now where would it be located? So in all these structures that derive from neuroectoderm, there is going to be a defect in the tissue or deficiency of the tissue. In which location? It's going to be in the inferonasal location. Why? Because the original location of the embryonic fissure, the choroidal fissure, was inferonasal, right? So a typical coloboma is always in the inferonasal quadrant. Is that clear? So what are the structures where you will see the coloboma? Your retina, choroid. So because choroid and retina are very, very intimate in their development. Although most of the choroid comes from mesoderm and a few structures, the stroma comes from neural crest cells, you will have chorioretinal coloboma. You can have chorioretinal coloboma. And also, you remember the zonules I told you? Okay, now let's imagine this is the lens. Okay, now let's just imagine this is the lens and you have zonules all around. Now you know zonules develop from neuroectoderm. Now suppose there is a coloboma, it's definitely going to affect the zonules. Okay, so let's say the inferonasal zonules are missing. Now the zonules are like rubber bands stretching the lens, keeping it flat. That's how the circular or the spherical lens becomes flat. Now if that stretch is not there, the lens will go inward like this. Okay, the lens will go inward like this. So I will actually have, clinically when I see, I will have a lid coloboma. I'll have a lens coloboma. Now why will I have a lens coloboma? Because the lens is now not circular in appearance. It will have a wedge shaped, that defect like thing because of the absence of zonules in that area. We can also have iris coloboma. Yes, in the iris you can have a coloboma resulting in a pear-shaped or a tear-shaped or a keyhole-shaped pupil. Okay, so all these are the various colobomas that can occur because of failure of fusion of the choroidal fissure on day 35. Now what about a lid coloboma? Now suppose let's say on my eyelid there is a coloboma, there is a small defect in the tissue. Do you think it's because of the embryonal fissure defect, closure defect? No. This is completely from surface ectoderm, has got nothing to do with any of these structures developing from neuroectoderm. Okay, so lid coloboma is not at all related to this embryonic fissure. Whereas lens coloboma, although the lens develops from surface ectoderm, it can manifest a coloboma when there is a failure of fusion of choroidal fissure because of its intimate physical relationship with the zonules. Okay, because the stretch of the zonules are not there, this area just goes inside to have a wedge shaped defect in the lens, which we will call as lens coloboma. Okay, so this is about the development of the eyeball as far as the ectodermal structures are concerned and the clinical significance. So this is why it's important to know the embryology, and you will realize how beautiful it is, the embryology, and how there is a clinical significance associated with it, right? So it's very, very important for you to understand anatomy, the way structures develop, and how it correlates clinically when you sit in the clinic and you're seeing patients. Okay, so if you put all these things together, subject becomes very, very beautiful to understand, and I'm sure now embryology is not so difficult for you. It's very easy and it's very interesting. So remember all this, visualize it in this way. So when you visualize stuff, you're definitely not going to forget it. Okay, so this is about embryological development of the eyeball as far as ectodermal structures are, or ectodermal layer is involved, right? Okay.